He has been in the broadcasting industry for over 30 years and has worked for different channels on television and radio. And his love for sport, especially boxing, has made him one of the most recognizable voices for sports fans across the nation. Boxing commentary is synonymous with the name Dumile Mateza. The veteran broadcaster, friend and colleague of mine, Dumile, is my guest, and a pleasure, Bradumi, to have you with us on our show. We appreciate.
I think you with all of that stuff, I once heard Martin Luther King being introduced by somebody, and he said, with your eloquent and magnificent introduction, I wondered, who are you talking about?
So here we are, and you can invite me and talk to me about rights and recourse. And then I can give you a long story, but depends which right you want.
So probably you can tell us about all the nasty stories you were involved in Botswana.
Yes, and in the modern days, stories continue. Stories make themselves up as you continue. I said it's over 30 years you've been in the industry. What is the exact amount of time that you've been?
I've been in the industry for about 36 years.
36
years. I arrived at the SABC in 1980 from a small town in the Eastern Cape called Karedo.
Yes.
The funny thing about that town is where John Foster was buried.
Okay. So that at least there's a connection of sorts with Foster. And you see, there's always a little story somewhere.
My friends used to tease me and say I used to work on John Foster's farm.
So then you got to the SABC in 80. It was the early days of television.
It was early days in preparation for SABC 2 and 3.
Yes. Yes.
I got staffed into the language department. Our job largely was to, in anticipation of SABC 2 and 3, to see to that the languages were pure. The Tswana was pure, the Xhosa was pure, the Zulu was pure.
Yes.
And that gave a lot of people from Soweto a difficult time because they came from Soweto. They couldn't speak all of these languages in a pure sense of the word, but they could speak some of them, but they were not speaking the right Zulu, the right Xhosa, the right Tswana.
And of course, there was a lot of translating from Afrikaans, English into the other languages and vice versa.
We were actually the villains of the advertising industry.
Yes.
Because then we brought in these strict language things. You can't say these traditionally, you can't do this. Traditionally, you can't have a child scream at his mother or father. Yes. And the advertising industry was very angry with us.
But it's a very important point you raised there, which we never appreciate nor celebrate. The fact that broadcasters of your time, your ilk, and others who came before you have made tremendous contribution to the enrichment of our languages.
Yes, I actually cringe when I hear the kind of language that is being used on our African radio stations today. I normally said I was speaking to somebody on SAFM in another program similar to yours, where I said, if you listen to the African radio stations, they all want to sound like a radio metro. And they should not be sounding like a radio metro because that's not their audience. Their audience is rural people, and they should be talking to the people in rural areas.
And in the language they understand.
In the language they understand.
And for me, I repeat myself, it's the enrichment of language that I find even more appealing, because along the way, with respect to you and your other colleagues, you also create your own words to bring the story to life, isn't it?
Yes. I still remember when we did cricket with Uncle, the late Dan said, may his soul rest in peace. We used to create terms as we were going along. Similarly, we were asked in the early days of the Sunset $1 Million Golf Challenge to go and do golf commentary. We've never done golf commentary, and we were asked to go and do a golf commentary. So we had to create a language around golf. And I remember in cricket, for instance, which is a pastime for your Xhosa-speaking people for the Eastern Cape, but not for your Tswana-speaking people from the high veld. And then created the term for an over, petugo.
Well, the one that I remember of Omden is Mokanangwana, which is a bicycle kick. But it comes from a nap. Having a short nap in Setswana would be hokana, hosekama, a little bit. And so it's a little nap. That's a split-second nap.
It took me some time to realize he had something that he used to say in Setswana. I had to quickly learn to understand in Setswana and the other languages. But the language that I gravitated to was Tswana, because then had this wonderful Honsi Fela Jwalo. And then I said, oh, he's saying Kunjalo Kanye.
But anyway, there you are, the early days in the translation department, but you end up being on air, and sports is, for many people, I know you've got your program now, Rights and Recourse. It's a Sunday program, but bear with me, we'll come to that one. Everybody knows you as a sports person through and through.
Well, one of the things I had to do from an early age, probably I should tell you the story. When I was at high school, for oral work, I used to do sports commentary.
Okay.
Because I realized early that
Yes.
doing commentary in sport is using a language,
Yes.
using all the kind of things that you need to demonstrate that you know the language.
That's right.
And that is what I did. I did that in Afrikaans, I did that in English, I did that in Xhosa.
And you knew you'll just get 100% without making too much effort.
Exactly.
You were a
as-
trickster. You were a trickster, because I recall those days they would say you must read a book and write a summary of the book or an essay on it. But if you were talented, which was more a talent thing, I would suggest.
Well, I had a grandfather who used to be an ardent rugby follower, and he used to listen to rugby commentary.
Sure, yeah.
And I picked up after him. And one of the things I did was, one of our teachers came into our class and said the other class has done better than us in oral, when we had not even started.
Yes.
We were going to do the next day. And he
Yes.
brought those guys to come and show us what they have done. And I said, but these guys are not doing the right thing.
Yes.
And I went home and I prepared. I remember in that year, the British Lions, in 1974, British Lions were touring South Africa. And I came in the next day and I did commentary on an imaginary match
Yes.
between the British Lions and the Springboks.
Yes.
And the inspector stopped me and said, stop. Where did you learn that?
Yes.
I said, from home, from my dad.
Yes.
I did in Afrikaans, I did in Xhosa.
Yes. There you are. Then it went on to build you a career. But there are highlights, right? You've already mentioned your time with Omden, covering cricket, covering golf, but boxing remains the thing. And of course, the Atlanta Olympic Games.
Well, yes, I think the Olympic Games started in Barcelona in 1992.
That's right.
When South Africa was re-accepted by the world. Funny enough, in the car now I was playing the CD from Freddie Mercury, Barcelona.
Yeah.
And I picked it up there in Barcelona, singing with Montserrat Caballé. And it was a wonderful experience to go to Barcelona. But the sad thing is, when we left for Barcelona, there was a strike at the SABC. And we were told, I think the big union there was Moasa at the time, we were told our lives cannot be guaranteed if we go. But when we landed in Barcelona the next day after we left, we were told the strike is over.
Yes. Well, and there you got your lives back now.
We got our lives back.
Any particular highlight during your sports commentary days?
Well, there are many highlights. I used to be, at some stage, I was at a boxing tournament at Sun City, where Arthur Maisela was fighting Harold Volbrecht for the South African welterweight championship. And on the day, Maisela, halfway through the fight, Volbrecht would claim that there was a headbutt during the fight.
Yeah.
And he had a cut above the eye, and he couldn't come back and fight in the fifth round. And the referee was Alfred Bukwana at the time, didn't know what to do. And the tournament supervisor was Stan Christodoulou, jumped into the ring, and he then declared the fight a technical draw. I protested for all that is there.
Yes.
It didn't end up there at the ringside.
Yes.
They called a post-fight press conference, and I raised this issue at the post-fight conference again. And I asked, can you cite me an example of a technical draw anywhere in the world? And then they would, and somebody, I think it was Leonard Neal, who was the publicist of the tournament, who came up and said, yes, there was a technical draw at Rand Stadium, where Martin Barnard was fighting Pete Krause. And because it was an open-air tournament, it rained, and the fight couldn't continue.
Yeah.
That fight was called a technical draw.
Yes.
I said, that was a technical draw.
Yeah.
But tonight, your decision smacks of racism.
Yeah, and it became one of the big stories of the time.
It became one of the big stories.
Arthur was very, very popular at that time.
Yes.
Now,
I got fired from the SABC.
for that?
Yes.
Oh.
I got fired from the SABC, and I was in the wilderness until I was picked up by one of the radio stations, Umhlobo Wenene, then known as Radio Cause, so I did commentary for them.
Yeah.
And during that period, I concentrated largely on cricket. And I did cricket mostly, and athletics, probably a bit of boxing here and there, and rugby. And then during that time, I entered for the SAB Sports Journalist of the Year award. I won it 2 years in a row because one of the things I learned very early was how do you prepare your entry for the judges to understand what is it that you are entering for? What is it that you are saying they must look at?
Yeah. Well, now the program that airs every Sunday, it's Rights and Recourse. It's on which channel?
It's on Channel 404.
Channel
TSTV.
404, and that's where you can catch Dumile Mateza. Many young people, though, and very briefly for us, look up to people like you and say, I also want to make it happen for me in broadcasting. Quick advice.
Well,
What should they focus on?
it's not easy. One of the most important things which you will know yourself, which I found with this program that I'm doing now, I do a lot of reading, and somebody was saying to me, you look like a lawyer when you walk around the passages with all of these things that you're having under your shoulder. I said, yes, I must read because I must be able to demonstrate that I know what I'm talking about. In other words, for instance, when I have a minister, I'm talking to a minister, I must be able to say section so-and-so and subsection what in brackets the Constitution says X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So this guy is read.
So reading is the key.
Reading is the key. It's very important that you must read. You must know your subject in and out. You must demonstrate that you know what you're talking about. I raised an issue with a colleague of mine, and I said to him, you know, somebody's going to quote something from, if you do these legal programs, what the lawyers normally say, in paragraph so-and-so, this is what it says in this and that case when they are quoting case law.
Sure.
And you should show them that you know what they are talking about.
And that you have prepared
in other
for the
words,
subject.
you have prepared, you have read the case law.
Dumile Mateza, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Much appreciated. And catch Dumile Mateza on 404 Rights and Recourse. That is his latest program. But unfortunately for some of us, boxing is synonymous with him. And I hope you enjoyed our interview here with this veteran, and you also enjoyed the show tonight. I'm inviting you to join us again next time. And good night to you.